Jack walked into his barn at dusk and found 4 Apache women hanging upside down, left to die. Freeing them meant challenging outlaws, old hatreds, and the grief he'd buried for years. When cruelty turns the world upside down, can one act of mercy set it right again? And what happens when saving strangers ends up saving your own soul? Before we dive into this tale of unexpected encounters and redemption on the rugged plains of New Mexico, let me pause for a moment and connect with you, my dear listeners. Tell me in the comments below, where are you tuning in from right now? Is it a bustling city like New York, a quiet village in India, or somewhere under the stars in Australia? And what's the time there as you listen? Hit that like button if you're ready for a story that flips the world upside down, and don't forget to subscribe for more gripping narratives that blend history, heart, and hope. Now, let's step into the dim glow of dusk. In the dim glow of dusk, filtering through the weather-worn cracks of the old barn, Jack Harland stumbled upon a sight that froze his blood harder than a winter northerly wind. 4 women, their long braids hanging like feathers caught in the air, were suspended upside down from the rafters, bound by thick ropes around their ankles. Their traditional Apache dresses, fringed and embroidered with symbols of earth and sky, swayed gently with the draft. One of them, her face flushed from the inversion yet marked by fierce resolve, locked eyes with him. "Please, save us," she whispered, her voice a plea wrapped in desperation and dignity. Jack, a solitary rancher who had spent years wrestling with the ghosts of his past on this isolated stretch of land in New Mexico, felt his world tilt. He was no hero, just a man who had lost too much, but in that instant, fate had pulled him into something far greater than himself. His hands trembled as he lowered his lasso, the very rope he had come to fetch to catch a stray calf. The barn smelled of hay and dust, a familiar comfort, now tainted by the surreal horror of the scene. The women were Apache, there was no doubt, evident in their clothing and in the quiet strength of their posture even while inverted. Widows, perhaps, judging by the black feathers woven in their hair, a symbol Jack recognized from old trading post stories. But why here? And like this? He approached cautiously, his boots crunching softly over loose straw. The woman who had spoken, her name was Leela, she gasped as she said it, repeated her words more softly. "Please, we don't want to harm anyone. They left us here to die." Jack's mind raced. Bandits, rival tribes, or worse, the lingering shadows of old frontier grudges that still haunted this land. He had learned to keep his head down after losing his wife and son to a fever 5 years earlier. But ignoring this would make him worse than the coyotes that prowled his fences at night. When he cut the first rope with his pocket knife, the woman fell into his arms and straightened with surprising grace. She was the eldest. Her eyes carried the same weight of loss as his own. One by one, the others followed, collapsing onto hay bales amid sobs of relief and murmurs of gratitude. They were sisters, Leland explained between sips of water from Jack's canteen, widows from a nearby Apache reservation. Their husbands had been killed in a clash over water rights with invading settlers, men who saw land as profit rather than inheritance. Fleeing retaliation, they had taken shelter in the barn during a storm, only to be discovered by a gang of outlaws who strung them up as a cruel warning to any trespasser. Hung upside down to prolong their suffering, to watch the world reversed as life drained away, Jack's stomach churned. He had heard rumors of such lawlessness in town, but they had always seemed distant, like thunder on the horizon. As Jack pondered this twisted fate, wrapping their ankles with care, let's take a quick breath here in the heart of the story. I wonder, friends, where are you hearing this tale unfold from? Maybe cozied up in a cafe in Paris, or on a commute in Tokyo? What's the clock saying as the tension builds? If this reversal of fortunes has you hooked, smash that like button and subscribe to join our community of story lovers. It's like extending a hand to pull someone upright, keeping these narratives alive and shared. Back to Jack's world, where an unexpected turn was just beginning. The unexpected turn came as the women regained their strength. While bandaging their bruised ankles with strips torn from his saddlebag, Jack noticed a small pouch clutched tightly in one woman's hand, a beaded medicine bag from which herbs and stones spilled onto the floor. "Our grandmothers," said the youngest, Sora, fire burning in her eyes. "She taught us the old ways, but we've lost so much." Jack froze. The pouch reminded him of his late wife's locket, buried with her, filled with dried clippings from her first garden. Understanding hit him like a stampede. He too had been hanging upside down for years, suspended in grief, isolated on his ranch, letting life pass him by. These women, strangers in his barn, were a mirror of his own inverted world. "Why me?" he murmured, more to himself than anyone. Leela gently touched his arm. "Because the spirits brought us here, and maybe to save you too." When night fell and the stars blanketed the ranch with an unusual brilliance, Jack made a decision that surprised even him. He offered them shelter in his modest cabin and shared his meager supper of beans and cornbread. Stories flowed like a river after rain. The women spoke of their people's struggles, the erosion of tradition, the fight for sovereignty in a world that often forgot them. Jack, in turn, opened his heart about his losses, the emptiness that had turned him into a ghost. Sora, bold with youth, challenged him. "You have land, water from that spring. Why not share? Our people could help you care for it, make it thrive again." It was an idea as wild as the mustangs he once broke, but by lantern light it sparked something alive within him. An unexpected alliance formed in his mind, not just a rescue, but a redemption. The emotional climax came the next morning. Riders appeared on the horizon, the outlaws returning, no doubt, to check their grim handiwork. Jack's heart pounded as he reached for his rifle, but Leela stopped his hand. "Not with violence," she urged, "with truth." Hiding the women in the loft, Jack faced the men alone, his voice steady for the first time in years. "What you did is cowardice," he declared, standing firm in the barn doorway. The leader, a scarred brute, laughed. "Mind your business, rancher." But Jack did not back down. He spoke of the women's pleas, of their humanity, weaving in his own loss to give the moment weight. One of the outlaws, a young man with haunted eyes, shifted uncomfortably, perhaps remembering his own family. In a turn Jack never expected, the young man turned on his leader, exposing the gang's ties to corrupt land grabbers in town. Chaos erupted, not with gunfire, but with words. The band fractured from within. The leader fled, his cruelty torn out like uprooted roots. In the aftermath, as dust settled and the women emerged, Jack felt a profound transformation. His act of compassion, standing not only for them but for what was right, had not just saved 4 lives, it had rekindled his own. Together they rode into town and alerted the sheriff, presenting evidence left behind by the fleeing outlaws. Justice began to turn, slow but sure. The true change, however, was quieter. Jack invited the widows to stay, partnering with their tribe to share the land's resources. Wells were dug, crops were planted, blending Apache wisdom with rancho know-how. Sora taught songs to the earth, while Jack showed them how to mend fences, literal and otherwise. Months later, when the first harvest ripened under a generous sun, Jack stood amid fields alive with color, the women now friends, their laughter ringing like birdsong. He had found purpose in generosity, learning that kindness was not weakness, but the strongest rope of all, one that could set both oneself and others upright. Human power does not lie in isolation, but in connection, in seeing the world inverted through another's eyes and choosing to set it right. For every unanswered plea, a heart hardens, but answer just one, and hope blooms eternal. And in that vast American landscape, where stories collide and futures are forged, Jack's tale became a whisper on the wind. A solitary rancher, 4 Apache widows, bound not by ropes, but by unbreakable ties of compassion. And in that, all of them were saved. As this story of inverted worlds and upright hearts comes to a close, I have to ask one last time, where in the world are you wrapping up this listen from? A cozy bed in London at midnight? Or perhaps a sunny park in California during lunch? Drop the time in the comments, and if this tale touched you, give it a like to spread the compassion, and subscribe so we can keep these connections blooming in future stories. Until next time, stay kind and connected.